Today we're going to be talking about maintenance and self-care for rock band violinists. So much of my music career has been rock band based, and I have a lot of experience and I've made mistakes along the way. So I'd like to share those with you, so hopefully if you're just starting out you can avoid those pitfalls, and if like me you've been doing it for 10-15 years, then you might have developed some long-term problems that perhaps I can help you with as well. And don't forget, there's a lot of resources on this channel for that as well. So if you don't find what you want in this video, please check out some of my other self-care videos. Okay, so firstly, we're going to talk about on stage and in rehearsal. So principally, the most important thing that you need to take care of when you're in a rock band is your hearing. Maybe you wouldn't notice it at first, but over time you can develop tinnitus and other hearing loss disorders, being exposed to loud noise for a while. So it's absolutely critical to have really, really good hearing protection and monitoring whilst you're on stage, and I'll explain why. So hearing protection is fairly obvious, but I'm going to show you what the best product is. For me, I use custom molded in-ear sound noise reduction earplugs, which you have molds made for, and then you send them off to a manufacturer of these, the molds, and then they'll send you back the earplugs. So depending where you are in the world, there'll be different manufacturers for this, but I'll try to include a link below just to show you the kind of product that I'm talking about. And these are really, really good. You can get something a little cheaper, which isn't custom molded, something like this. So this brand here, it's called Loop earplugs, and many of you might have just come across these already because they're pretty popular. But this one here isn't specialized for musicians actually, but they do now do a specialist for musicians in earplug. But they come with lots of different ear sizes as well, earbud sizes. So the first option normally costs, at least when I've done it, which has always been in the UK, around 150 euros. And these ones here are about 25 euros. So depending on your budget, both options are good. But obviously the first one, especially if you're serious and professional, is going to help your hearing in the long run. I've not had any hearing loss problems yet, except for one, which came from wearing in-ear monitors. So instead of wearing earplugs for one show, I tried some in-ear monitors, which meant that they were supposed to have some hearing protection in, but what happened was the sound engineer, I asked for more violin, and they turned my violin up, but it was so loud that it burst something in my ear and I lost my hearing for 3 days. So I personally don't like to use in-ear monitors because you're very much at the mercy of somebody else unless you can control them yourself, which you can do, but when you're playing, that's very difficult because when you're in a show, you don't have time to stop and deal with things. So it's very normal to ask the sound engineer to do that for you. So yes, in that case, the engineer wasn't as experienced with these in-ear monitors, so we were a new product. So it's best to be very careful when messing with anything to do with your hearing. So what do I use instead of in-ears? So obviously you can just use standard monitoring. However, if you are sharing the stage with an electric guitar, which I'm assuming you will be, if you're coming through the same monitor, you're probably not going to be able to hear yourself if they're using a heavy distortion. So it's better to actually have your own monitor. Now, the beefiest way to do this is using a bass amp. So if you have a bass amp next to you on stage, I will link below to where you can buy a fairly inexpensive bass amp from Fender, I believe, which is pretty light to carry as well, but does do the job. It's not the best bass amp in the world. If you were a bass player, maybe don't get this amp, but if you're a violinist and you want something light and portable, then this is a good one. I also use a Fishman acoustic amplifier, which I will just briefly show you. Down there, the brown one. I will put a link in the description to where you can pick one of those up. These for me have the best sound quality of any amplifier, and if I am playing an acoustic show, I can use this amplifier, but it doubles up as a rock band monitor too. But again, it depends how loud your band is. So the band that I have been principally playing in is extremely loud, so I need the bass amp. But in other bands I've played in, the Fishman has been perfectly adequate. So it really will depend on your situation. But having an amp at about ear level, so the sound's coming towards your ear, is the ideal way. And if you can't do that, then you can point it up towards you by supporting it on the floor so that it points diagonally up towards your ear. And most amps will tip back like that. My Fishman has a tipping back option, so you can tip it back and it kind of points upwards like that. So that's always fine otherwise, but the noise needs to point towards you. You can't put the amp on the floor pointing sort of horizontally, as you probably won't be able to hear it. So that's monitoring. Monitoring is really important, not only so you can hear your intonation, as violinists principally need to hear themselves if they want to be in tune. Even if you have the best muscle memory in the world, it is very difficult to guarantee that you're going to be in tune if you can't hear what you're playing. So the other reason for decent monitoring is to keep your bows intact. So I go through, maybe if I'm heavy touring regularly with a rock band, then I can go through a bow every month or two quite easily. Let me just show you which bow I used for my last gig, which is on its last legs, and you can see. So this is my rock band bow. I have 4 bows. I have to rehair all of them every 6 months when I'm playing with a rock band, because otherwise there's not enough hair on a bow. Can you see how much has come off? Now, this has happened in situations where I don't have the sound levels right and the monitoring levels aren't correct. You can't always be in total control of that, and when it happens, then you do break bow hairs. The other issue with that is that when you are breaking your bow hairs, you're not using effortless technique. You are using technique that is putting extra pressure from the right arm on the bow on your violin, which is going to cause you to overplay. So if you can't hear yourself, you're going to press harder this way, right? So down on the bow, so that you can try to make more volume, which is the natural response to not being able to hear what you're doing on the violin. However, if you're playing very fast rock music, which is often at, you know, the sort of stuff I'm doing, it's like, you know, I'm doing a lot of that kind of stuff, and right at the frog, and it's rhythm, so rhythm violin essentially. I'm not going to play now because I've got a window right here and I won't be able to, but what I will do, if anyone's interested, I'm actually leaving this band very soon, for reasons I'll explain, but if you do want to check out the kind of music I play, this is the name of the band, Worldly Savages, and if you just put that into Google, I'll put a link below, you can check out the music as well. The recordings are really, really cool. So the next thing on my list that I want to talk to you about when you're on stage, essentially just drinking a lot of water. So when you play with a rock band, you will be probably moving around quite a lot. It's like a mini athletic activity. Okay, so after a gig it feels like I've done exercise, because I'm normally trying to dance, play the violin, entertain people with my movement at the same time as pressing pedals and all that kind of thing, all at the same time, and remembering vocal lines. So there's a lot of physical movements going on, and I do get through quite a lot of water when I'm playing. I try to drink a lot. So, you know, I just say this because often you forget, especially if you're doing a rock gig and you get free alcohol, and basically over time, if you don't stay hydrated, then that can cause you problems in your body. Very straightforward, you know, I'm not going to talk more about that now, because everyone knows drinking a lot of water is good for you. So if you can keep your posture as effortless as possible with good monitoring and good ear protection, you should be able to play in a rock band for a long time. But if you are overplaying with the right arm, like me, which is what's happened to me, you will have long-term problems in your shoulder. So it's very common for rock band violinists to have right shoulder problems for the reasons we've already mentioned. So now I'm going to go through my personal self-care routine and how I maintain my shoulder so that I can play violin. I recently made the choice to stop playing in a rock band and move to non-rock bands because of my right shoulder. So I've been playing in rock bands since I was in my early 20s, and so it's been 15 years. And most of the damage that I did was probably in the younger years before I understood this. And I didn't have monitoring, you know, it was just real DIY kind of punk kind of stuff. And, you know, if you're going to hear yourself, you're just going to play louder and apply the pressure. So I made a lot of mistakes. And now what's happened over time is this right shoulder here has moved forward and trapped the base of the radial nerve and the ulnar nerve in my neck. And when I don't take adequate care of myself, I get pain all along my right arm, which is nerve pain. So in order to do that, I have to basically maintain some degree of shoulder yoga. Also self-massage, regular relaxation and meditation really helps. And keeping away from poor posture when I'm playing. So by poor posture, I mean bending forward. So when the shoulders are forward like that, they should be back and relaxed down the back of your back, Your shoulder blades should be hanging down loosely when you're playing, which means that you almost need to sort of have your posture, it's not leaning back, but your chest needs to be open. So the shoulders are back, not crunched up like that. If you're playing like that, then you are gonna develop the same problems that I did as well. I was doing this for a long time. Now, the reasons you might be playing like with poor posture are probably down to your shoulder rest and your chin rest. So I will link below down to some videos about how to position those correctly in order to prevent you from playing with poor posture. But you should be with your spine in alignment. Imagine you've got a piece of string on the top of your head and you're just dangling from it. And that's how you need to be when you're playing. So you need to have good posture all of the time. Okay, so how can you improve your posture and reduce your chances of injuring yourself when you're playing? Firstly, warm up before you play. So you need to warm up the shoulders. It can be good to have a routine of shoulder opening yoga as well. So I'll include some links below for a before strengthening yoga and an after relaxing yoga that you can do before and after gigs and rehearsals, which really do help. So, you know, just rolling the shoulders like this, both directions, really simple stuff. And then also this exercise here, you're clasping the hands behind your back. I'm not doing this properly because I need to show you, but you want to basically open up the shoulders as much as you can and just warm up the joints as much as you can. You should do the same with the wrists. So these kind of exercises, maybe write the alphabet or your name with each wrist. The right hand for me is the most important because that's where I have the most pain. My left arm's very much okay. I don't experience pain or tension in my left arm. Okay. So doing some simple shoulder opening routine and also self-massage before you play. I apply Tiger Balm. This is the red Tiger Balm, which is actually a Thai product, which you can buy also anywhere in the world. And this has a warming effect on your skin. So if you put this on your skin before you play, it's a bit like a deep heat. It can be very strong, so do try it first to make sure that you're not allergic to it or it's not too strong for you. So by self-massage, I mean the hands, particularly this area. This area gets the most battering when you're a rock violinist because the base of the thumb just takes quite a lot because you're often playing right at the frog end of the bow or the heel, and rhythm, chicka 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 chicka. Okay, so this needs to be super strong and super flexible and also relaxed a lot. It can also help to put your hands in warm salt water or have a salt bath after you play. That really helps. Where I live in Thailand, they don't really have baths, so I really miss that about living in Europe, but we do have the sea here, so it's not all bad. Okay, so before you play, you should also warm up your fingers and hands by just playing some slow scales. I find that makes such a big difference when I play. And I really focus on trying to relax the right hand when I'm playing those scales. So I try to relax the grip of my bow. If you find that when you're playing and your right hand starts to tense up, that will cause you problems. Again, this is a mistake that I have made. So I now have some pain in my hands and wrists as well. So it's very important to keep the bow grip relaxed, and what will happen then is you'll make a nicer sound anyway. But if you're tensing because you want to play louder, then that's a recipe for long-term problems. You need better monitoring on stage, and then relax the bow hand. Get those bits right and you'll be fine, okay? What else can I offer you? So yeah, warm up with some slow scales or just some technical exercises as well. Very slow whole bows before you play, and then increase the speed of those so that you know you kind of warmed up slowly rather than jumping straight into the really fast music that you'll probably be playing with your rock band. It's a bit like going for a run without stretching. You're going to feel pain the next day. Okay, so after you play, you should also have a self-massage routine. I like to do mine before I go to bed every night. So I apply a different Tiger Balm. This one here is cooling. And after I play, I put a bit of that on, and also before I go to bed, I like to put a bit of this on. If you do suffer with inflammation, which I have had a problem with, and it does come up for me now and again as pain in my right arm, this has a cooling effect, which helps with the inflammatory pain. So it's really good, and you can mix it with coconut oil. And I can put links to where you can buy these products. I'm sure you know where to buy coconut oil from, but maybe not this one. And then massage your right shoulder in particular, but it's good to do both arms and shoulders to keep things in balance anyway. So in the muscles that you want to be stretching the most, and where I've had the most problems, are the traps. So the muscles here, and also this area here, all around the neck. So it's critically important to stretch out this area all around here. And I will include a link to a video where I do go through some stretches that you can do to help with this particular area. But you should self-massage this whole area here and try to keep it as supple as possible. And that will help with your playing too, because the more relaxed particularly the traps are, the better that your bowing will be, and you won't be having tension problems so much in the right arm. A lot of the time when we have problems in the hands and arm, it starts in the shoulders. Shoulder blades as well. So the shoulder blades are very important. So if you can actually afford to go for a massage, that's even better. Or if somebody can help you with the shoulders, because often it can be hard to reach. But if you do enough shoulder flexibility videos, then you'll be able to reach, no problem. So the other oil that you can use as a cooling aid is a peppermint oil. So peppermint oil you can mix with coconut oil again, and that cools down the arm after you perform. So what else have we got here? I want to talk about some of the long-term things to keep in mind. So we've actually touched on quite a lot of these already. So having a yoga routine is really helpful, particularly with the shoulders, arms and hands. For me, I've actually stopped drinking alcohol, particularly around shows. Occasionally I might have a glass or something at a party, but when it comes to work, for me, it's better to keep alcohol separate, because when you drink alcohol and you play, which often happens when you play in a rock band because you get free drinks quite often, two things happen. From a music perspective, you lose your sense of timing and pitch a little bit, and it doesn't matter what anyone says, those things do go when you drink alcohol, and you might think that you are playing like Jimi Hendrix, but you'll just be slightly out of tune. And in the long run, for me, alcohol, I realise, causes inflammation, which exacerbates the pain I have in my shoulder. So for me, it's no longer something that I want to do when I'm at work, because if I do that, I don't allow my body to have the best opportunity to get through the experience without developing inflammation. So when I perform, I drink plenty of water, eat some inflammation reducing foods if you can, if you are experiencing this pain already. If not, then maybe do it anyway. Also, if I do develop pain in my arms and shoulders, then something that can help with inflammation is either turmeric or charcoal, activated charcoal tablets. If I'm on tour and I have to play every day, I take about 3 of these in the morning or before bed, either of those after a show. And in the morning, what this does is it seems to be able to remove toxins from the body. So if you are drinking, it actually helps with the hangover. And if you're not drinking, then it will just mean that you won't feel as much pain in your arms because there's less toxicity in your system. Okay, what else have we got here? So I'm going to talk about the therapy that really helps me when I do develop acute pain and none of the things that I do as self-care can help. So I go, it's a very, very niche thing, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to find it in your area, but I will post below where you can buy the machine to do this. It's basically, wait for it, electric shock massage with silver gloves. Okay, so I go to see an osteopath, a trained osteopath, who specializes in this. So maybe doing it at home isn't the best idea, but if you buy the machine, maybe you can find the person or teach yourself how to use it. I'm not sure, but I've never bought it myself, but I will link to the machine because there doesn't seem to be a lot of information on the internet about this. I live on an island where there are a lot of alternative healing modalities available to me. So I was very lucky to have this recommended to me by another musician, a drummer, who'd experienced good results with it from having pain. And I went with a friend who's a violinist, and both of us saw really good results, and both of us had the same problem. And basically pain in the right arm that stops you from being able to do your housework because you actually can't take, it's nerve pain. So when you're lifting up heavy pots and pans, every impact on your joints causes some pain. So this helped with this, and also living in balance. So it's very important for me to eat inflammation reducing foods. You can Google what those are if you want to, but it's essentially fruit and vegetables, you know, just avoid fat, fatty, bad oils. Good oils are fine, you know, butter, olive oil, coconut oil, great. Lots of that actually, because the more oil that you consume, good oil, then your joints will be in better health. Also massage with castor oil. Castor oil is very good for the joints. So if you actually mix your tiger balms with castor oil, then maybe not before because it's very sticky, but afterwards you could do that. And but it does take a while to soak in, so you just need to be a bit patient with that, and don't put your clothes on straight away. So yes, electric shock therapy, going back to that. So basically I lie on a massage bed, and the osteopath puts on silver conductive gloves, which are plugged in with a wire into a machine which emits electric shock vibration or electricity, and me, the client, I hold the control for how strong, how many volts, what the voltage is, so I can make it stronger or weaker. And as she massages my body, I feel acute pain when she goes to the areas where there are problems, and then I reduce the amount of electricity, and then she can massage that area. So basically it shows you, it pinpoints where the problems are. So mine are specifically around here and here. So I find it very uncomfortable to sleep on my side at night. It's the side of the shoulders where I experience the most acute pain from playing the violin. And also sometimes around here, I also feel that I have problems. I also have a problem in my elbow as well, and the hands and the wrist. So when I go to her, it significantly improves how I feel afterwards, because I have a nerve problem and she uses electric current. I guess the two are speaking to each other, nervous system and the electricity, and somehow it balances out my overall nervous system and I feel better. Afterwards, I normally need at least 1 day of rest because it can be quite an experience. So you should, the first time you go, you should give yourself maybe 2-3 days to relax afterwards, because you'll be eliminating a lot of toxins. So yes, I don't know where the practitioners of this are, but I will link to below to what the product is and you can research that yourself. If I develop hand cramps, which I quite frequently do, I not only have problems from the violin, I also had a traumatic injury from domestic violence, unfortunately, where my perpetrator slammed a door handle into my hand here on the base of my thumb. So a lot of my problems actually come from having lived with quite a protracted period of recovery from that, because it damaged the nerves in my hands. I had to stop playing for 1.5 years, apart from very light playing when I was teaching, but that really exacerbated and brought up many problems that I already had in my shoulders. But it very much is a big deal for me to keep this part of my hand relaxed. So when I get hand cramp, it can be triggered by emotional stress for me, just because I have trauma around that, but it impacts my violin playing. So what I do to stop that is I do deep breathing and meditation, and in 10 minutes I can have a relaxed arm. However, if I start to feel the cramp, then I have to stop and rest. And unfortunately, you have to just live with that if you are experiencing these kind of problems. So yeah, I think I'll wrap it up there. If you have any more questions about playing violin in a rock band and the self-care and maintenance around it, maybe I'll talk a little bit about life on tour. So when I was younger, my life on tour involved playing the gigs, not sleeping much, and drinking all of the free alcohol. Now it involves spending as much time in my hotel room as I can get. So my band like to arrive early, so we have a couple of hours to ourselves before the show. And then once I finish the show, I normally like to hang around for maybe half an hour to an hour, and then go back to my hotel room and spend maybe 1 or 2 hours on self-care routines. And that way I'm able to play a show every day. However, if you don't do this, you might be all right for a while, but as you get older, you actually do need that time, because the amount of energy output that you put on stage, it's very high. So it's like you're putting out all your energy for the day in the 90 minutes that you're on stage. It's super, like everything on full cylinders for that period. And then afterwards, you actually need to be isolated. If you then go and socialize, which is very tempting, what happens is you kind of double that energetic drop. So if you find after a gig you're extremely tired, then maybe just go there, perform, and leave. And trust me, your value will go up if you treat yourself in that way as well. Because if you're always hanging out and getting drunk and that kind of stuff, it shows that you don't respect yourself as a musician. I've made these mistakes before. But if you just go in, do the job as a professional, then you're more likely to get more work as well, because people will see that you are professional about it and you're not just there to get drunk. No venue, no promoter, no band leader wants to deal with somebody who's drunk when they're playing. So it really helps in your advantage if you can become one of those people that doesn't drink alcohol when they play. However, I'm not going to get judgy about that, because for much of my life I have done that, but I've learned that the best way is absolutely not. Okay? All right, with that, I'm going to sign off. Please subscribe or like this video if you enjoyed the content, and reach out if you have any questions. You can contact me directly to book a lesson on theviolincoach@gmail.com, or if you have any questions you want me to address, just pop them in the comments. Okay, good luck.